I want you all to imagine for a minute that you saved up your money for months to buy a 12900K, a CPU that you're really excited to put in your build and game with. Maybe you picked up a motherboard as well, or an AIO to cool this beast of a CPU. And then when it came time to get back from the store and to open the box, you took it out in this little gold case that they give you. You opened it and it was completely empty. They literally sold you an empty box for nearly 600 US dollars. Imagine how you would feel if that happened. And that's exactly what happened to me a couple days ago. But let me just rewind and go over the whole story. So the way it started was I went to Best Buy to purchase some things to upgrade my PC with. And those things that I bought are those that you see in front of you. I bought this motherboard, Z690 Edge Wi-Fi DDR4 from MSI. And then I brought from Corsair H150i Elite LCD to cool this chip, because I also brought the 12900K. Now, two of these products were completely fine, these two. Everything worked perfectly fine. But the CPU, I opened it and the box was completely empty. Now, I saw that the CPU had been in a case at Best Buy and they took it out of the case. So I'm just like freaking out, because I'm like, how am I going to get my money back? Like, they're not going to believe that I opened the box and it was empty, because I mean, anyone can say that and then just steal from Best Buy, because they could have just pocketed the CPU. It's literally just my word. Luckily, I had been at the Best Buy earlier, the previous day, and I had, while I was there buying all these products, I talked quite a bit with the employees, and I told them about my YouTube channel, and a few of them subscribed. So like, they knew me a little bit. I was hoping they would give me the benefit of the doubt so I wouldn't have to lose $600. And luckily it was easier than I thought it would be. They at first, they were like, well, it's your word. I wasn't sure it was going to go well. And next thing I know, one of the guys who I had, since it was mostly the same employees the second day, one of the guys who had also subscribed to my YouTube channel starts coming towards me with a new 12900K from the case. So I'm like, okay, great. Now I'm getting a new replacement. That's perfect. All good to go. So yeah, that wasn't too difficult to convince them to give me a replacement, surprisingly. Then this is where it really gets weird. They brought out the replacement, scanned it, gave it to me like for free because I already had the earlier one. I'm like, okay, I want to open this one in front of you, just because if there's something wrong with the batch and this one's also empty, I mean, you're not going to believe me a second time, so I'm going to open this in front of you. And I did, and it was empty again. The second one was also empty. So at that point, the Best Buy employees are also like, what the actual heck is going on here? Like, two of them were empty. The box was just completely nothing in it. Nothing in the box. So it happened twice. When I opened it, I was almost a little relieved, because I was like, now they're going to believe me. Now they're going to believe me. Now that they saw me open a second one, it was also empty. So I started thinking it was a problem from the factory or something like that. But anyway, what ended up happening was like, they had at least one other 12900K in stock, but I think the reason they didn't want to open it was because as soon as they opened it, they would have a lot of empty boxes, each one of those $600 in the hole for Best Buy, and they would have had to explain that to like their manager. So I think they were like, let's just stop opening boxes for now. So they said they're going to give me a refund, which was fine, because I realized Micro Center had it for cheaper anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go take the refund, and I'm gonna go to Micro Center and buy it for $40 less. And that's exactly what I did. And when I was at Micro Center, I was like, I told the guy the story before he even took it out of the case. I was like, I just want to open this in front of you right after I buy it, because it might be empty. And he was also thought I was crazy. So he comes over, and him and the cashier are both like spectating after I pay for the thing when I open it. And I was so relieved that finally I got one. So finally it was in there. I tested it already, it works. So at least I got it. Best Buy gave me all my money back for the CPU. These two were fine, but they gave me all the money back for the CPU, and finally I got a cheaper one at Micro Center and it worked. So at least I'm good, but you know, it was quite the debacle. I was really quite worried I wasn't going to get my money back, you know, from Best Buy, but once I did, it was fine. And I'm glad that I was able to get this CPU actually the same day. I got it yesterday, which was the same day I went to Best Buy to complain about getting an empty box. So yeah, it was a terrible experience in the end. I mean, it was just nerve-wracking, $600 on an empty box, but since Best Buy gave me back the money, at the end of the day, I didn't lose much except for time and, you know, anguish over this. I think now is really the best time to give a word of warning to everybody. You know, if you're considering buying a CPU, especially, you know, one that's expensive, like this one, like the 12900K, you know, just be careful, guys, especially if, like the Intel higher end CPUs usually do, there isn't a pane in the box where you can see the CPU. You guys know oftentimes when you buy a CPU, there's a little like plastic window where you can see the CPU itself through the box. Now I know why they have that and why this is the perfect item for thieves to steal, because you can't tell because of the weight that there's nothing in there because the CPU weighs so little, and at the same time you can't see it, so there's no way of knowing that it's actually in there. So it makes perfect sense that this would be an item that thieves would target. But yeah, that's why if you buy something like this, I would really recommend, unless you're not worried about it at all, that when you buy a piece of hardware like this where it could potentially be an empty box, then I would say you open it in front of the employees just to keep your mind at ease. And obviously if you do that, you can't buy online, but you know, if it's something that isn't that expensive, you know, maybe it's $100, you know, you might just think, you know, buying online is fine, and I wouldn't say otherwise. But just if it's something like this, you might want to be a little more careful and open it in front of the employees. So part of the reason I wanted to make this video was just to make sure you guys don't get almost robbed, as I almost did get $600 on an empty box. But yeah, when you're buying your CPU, if you tell the employees you want to open it in front of them, if you explain why you're concerned about it, they would probably be understanding. At Micro Center, they were very understanding and even interested to see whether or not I'd get an empty box. Of course, I really hope that this does not happen to anyone else, any of you guys out there. Just be careful. I still have no idea how this happened. I mean, there seems to be many different points at which the CPU could have gone missing. Either that, or there was just a problem with a batch of them that all went to Best Buy, where like maybe Intel was just packaging these, some of them without anything in them. You know, I mean, but also another possibility is that anyone along the way, as this box made its well, not this one, this is the one from Micro Center, but as the box that I got from Best Buy made its way to the store, somewhere along the way somebody just took it, you know. And at least according to Micro Center employees, it wouldn't probably be that difficult for them to find a way to put a fake seal on it, because the seal looked pretty authentic and the seal was closed even though the box was empty. So who knows who could have stolen it? I sure don't. All in all, I'm just so relieved that I did get my money back. There was just no way I was not making a video about this, because I don't want the same thing to happen to anyone else. It's just a terrible thing to happen to you, to spend that kind of money on a piece of hardware and have this happen. It didn't even happen with any of these two, which are much less expensive. It had to happen with this CPU. That's about all for the missing CPU story, guys, but before I go, there was something else I wanted to mention. So yeah, as I might have said before, all these parts that I bought were to upgrade my personal gaming rig. I don't like building a PC all at once. I always like upgrading it, and every time I upgrade, keeping some of the old parts. That's just how I like to do it. So I bought these 3 parts, and they're going to be upgrading, replacing 2700X, which I currently have on a Scythe Mugen 5 tower cooler. I needed a better cooler, which is why I brought the AIO to go with the 12900K, and obviously a new Intel motherboard, because my previous board was an AM4 board. So this is going to be quite a significant upgrade for the more CPU intensive games, and just my PC should be quite a bit snappier with this processor installed. So I tested all the parts outside of the case, but I have not yet put it in the case, because this case, the Corsair 110R, it's partially taken apart now because I'm going to start taking out parts and putting in new ones. But this case is going to be a nightmare to put a 360mm RAD inside of, and also an ATX board. This is not a good case for that sort of thing. I mean, I'm gonna try to power through it though and build in that case anyway. Maybe in a year or so, I'll upgrade my case. Maybe also when I go ahead and upgrade my power supply as well. Like I said, I like to upgrade stuff slowly over time, 1 or 2 parts at a time. I'm going to start upgrading over the next day or so, and if you guys want to see a completed build, let me know down below. It'll probably show up in one of my videos anyway at some point. Also, since the case that I'm talking about is such a pain to build in, I was thinking about making some modifications to it maybe. It would be the first time that I did proper case modding, but I thought to maybe get a Dremel and cut out all the annoying parts of the case that make it a lot more of a pain to build in, and also to build a sort of glass side panel for the case, because currently it's a tinted panel. It's a tinted, I believe, glass panel, but I want a clear glass panel, so I might like actually construct that for myself, and then also make some other modifications. So if you want to see me modding that case in a separate video, also let me know down below. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.